Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. A huge, big welcome wherever you are in the world. We're delighted that you've given up some of your valuable time to be with us. I can see people joining already in the chat. We've got people from Michigan, we've got people from Italy, we've got people from the UK, we've got people from the US. So a warm, warm welcome. And also congratulations on navigating the time change as well. According to some of my colleagues, some of the states have changed in the US. And of course, we haven't changed to daylight savings here in the UK or in the EU yet. So welcome. It's not just me. I'm today delighted to be joined by a couple of colleagues who I'll be introducing in a mere moment. Just to let you know that we will be sending an email to you after the show, and it will have the slides, and they have lots of valuable links in, and there'll also be some contact information as well. So don't worry if you don't get any of the links, or worry that you've missed something as well, because we'll also send you the link to the recording, the action replay, so you can watch it again in the comfort of your own home and in your own time and space. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce my wonderful colleague, the amazing Dee. Dee, welcome. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for the intro, Louise. And thank you everyone for joining. I'm Dee, like Louise said. Very excited to host the webinar today. A quick, intro to myself. I've been at ThingLink for almost 2 years now. Crazy. And it's really exciting. And I work with TVET leaders or CT leaders and workforce organizations, really looking at how to better prepare learners for the realities of today's workforce and how to increase productivity, learner engagement, which are always going to be key concepts when it comes to e-learning, and really what we as educators are trying to accomplish. And then, finally, I am, my background's in IO psychology. So we'll be talking always, per usual, around the psychology of learning. And I'm super excited. And we also have Michelle, who is also co-hosting the webinar today.
A big warm welcome to you, Michelle. You are a much treasured, valued member of the wider ThingLink family. And I know that we've been working together for the last 6 years. You've been with me on my ThingLink journey from day one.
Can't believe it. It seems like 6 days or something, Louise. It doesn't seem like that long, but I'm so happy to be here with both of you today. I'm excited to talk about this very important topic. Like anytime we're talking about future and careers and tech and just, the psychology of it all, I'm with it. I'm in.
Brilliant.
So glad to be here.
Yeah. Shall we get started? I think this is a great conversation to have, because one thing we know is, vocational education, it's always been immersive. The issue isn't the relevance of immersive learning, it's how can we scale it? And really across the world, leaders are being asked to produce workforce-ready graduates faster. We have higher levels of enrollment, fewer resources, which really leads me kind of to the next slide here. Let's start by naming really what pressures we see vocational educators going through. And the pressures, they are real. We're seeing it. It's across the board. It's a conversation that happens. We're seeing, welding programs, they have wait lists. Advanced manufacturing programs expanding faster than their facilities can support. HVAC and electrical pathways growing due to workforce demand. There's a higher demand. And at the same time, what we're seeing is the funding isn't expanding. So how do we navigate that? Instructors with real industry experience are increasingly also difficult to recruit, retain, and really the big piece here we're going to talk about today is that the physical lab environment, the heart of CTE, has limits. There are only so many bays, machines, safety certified spaces to practice in, areas that we can take, or even the funding as to where we can take students. And really perhaps the biggest shift, and we'll talk about, is that employers are no longer impressed just by completion. They really expect demonstrable skill because of the shift in also the new generation of learners coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And really, this forces a strategic question for leaders. How do we increase instructional impact without increasing operational cost? And I really want to turn to you, El Michelle. I know you've been working directly with educators in CTE programs. What are you hearing from leaders right now? Like, what pressure points come up for you most often?
I would just definitely 1 in 5. All of these are, and of course 4. We could just say 1 through 5 really are all main and key points, but the enrollment is high. Students are looking for something different. I'm always on the student advocacy side of life, and they're looking for ways to be more expressive in their learning paths, not just the traditional classroom setup. So even, the students who were inclined before, which maybe was like a subset of students and everybody else was cool with being a general education setup. No, now you have the shift taking place where it's like students are looking for these opportunities to expand what they know early. You know what I mean? And so the enrollment is higher. We're seeing that. I had a friend today that just said, my son, he's going to look for something different now. And so that enrollment is one key thing. Expectations rise because demand is so high. I mean, the supply is high. There's so many students to choose from, per se. You know what I mean? And so now you are looking to see what kind of factors or what kind of things can distinguish one student from the next. And so that expectation is up. You just can't do the same old status quo. So those are some pressures for sure, And so those two, definitely the enrollment and the expectations. But it's a good time for all of this to be at play with all the tools that we'll talk about and preparing students to meet that challenge. So, yeah.
I know that we had a webinar, was it last year, Dee? We were privileged enough to have Mitsubishi Electric that joined us on a webinar, and they're responsible for training people who are the installers of the heating and air cooling systems. And they said there's a huge shortage of people coming into the industry as well. So they need more plumbers, they need more electricians, they need more trades. So whilst we're seeing rising enrollment, there are many sectors that are crying out to have vocational programs that are really exciting and engaging, because there's a real shortfall of people coming into the workforce. And actually in my community, you can't get a plumber for love nor money, a good one that is. So there's actually a shortage of good trades. So yeah, I think I could add a 6th one to that we need courses that really inspire young people to move into these types of trades that are going to be really lucrative for them in the future as well.
Absolutely. I just to go off that point, that's a great point. I read an article, it wasn't that long ago, that in the next what are we, 2026? The next 10 years, they're expecting over 1 million positions open, or excuse me, over 100,000 positions open in just manufacturing alone. So that's not considering construction roles or healthcare roles, that there is a demand. So that's what's great. We have a rising enrollment. There is a demand. There will always be jobs in these sectors.
Yes.
But one thing that we're seeing, and we can jump to the next piece here, is that we are also seeing a strategic shift, right? There are 3 shifts that we see happening. First, we're moving from access limits to scalable immersion. So in other words, learning experiences that extend beyond physical lab time, which is what we're going to chat a lot about today. Second, we're moving from completion to competency. Employers, and what we're talking about, they want to see evidence of skill. They want the people to come out of, or learners to come out of these vocational roles ready, workforce ready. And we're going to talk a lot about that. And then third, we're going to move from static curriculum to adaptive learning. So as industries evolve, curriculum needs to evolve faster too. These shifts are not about replacing hands-on learning, but extending and supporting it and making it more impactful. We'll go to the next slide.
And that was one of the things that Mitsubishi Electric also said, was that a number of the people that they're training have never had any kind of formal statement of need or any recognition of their accessibility requirements. So you have actually people coming in to do the training and they've never had any thought given to their own dignity in learning. And I know this is something you're going to touch on, but that was just another point that I think Mitsubishi said loud and clear, that there was a real demand for training that was more accessible.
Yes. And I think education across the board is always very important. This slide, the do more with less. I think this is a concept that we've heard a lot everywhere. And I think this is reality for every vocational program because there's always going to be a physical constraint. Like I mentioned, in welding programs where we need students to rotate through stations, there's not enough. Manufacturing equipment is constantly booked, but we know that mastery, and going again into the psychology of things, it requires repetition, especially when we're talking about a skilled labor trade, and repetition really requires having access. And access doesn't always have to be physical access. So the question really becomes, what happens before students even step into a lab? And how can we get them that repetition and that access? And what happens after they leave? And I think these are going to be two things that we answer moving forward here, which brings me to, let's go ahead and jump into some examples. I'm going to get my screen share here. Great. So this first example, I really love, because we, like Louise said, one of the biggest opportunities is not only being able to build creating assets that are interactive, but also accessible. And when we say accessible, we mean several things. Accessible in terms of technology, right? This is, you can access this on any device. So it's also going to be accessible in that way. But we're also talking about terms of learning styles, using visuals, audio, being able to use an accessibility player so that you can put in your profile and the standards, and also accessible in terms of language and context. But this is another important dimension here that oftentimes in vocational education gets overlooked. And that is soft skills. We often focus, like I mentioned, on heavy equipment, procedures, and those are obviously very critical, but we're talking about making our learners workforce ready. And those soft skills are really important. And actually, this is an example Louise put together, and I think it's really great because it really walks through getting learners ready for that real world environment, because it's always going to be important. How can we communicate? How can we interact with not only, let's say, customers, but each other? And again, a big focus on being able to create these immersive assets for soft skills as well as hard skills.
I've just put the link to that in the chat, and it is linked to that slide as well. But if you go to the top level again, Dee, if you just click out of that tag, these kinds of things are actually posters that you see on the wall in lots of places. But, you see something on the wall and you kind of, I don't know about you guys, but it just seems like a bit of a jumble. It's not visually kind of engaging. But imagine if you had this as a poster and then an educator took the original image and then just added these hotspots. It just brings it to life. And we talked about that dignity in learning. You've built the accessibility into the design of it because it's so multimodal. Yes, you've got text. Yes, there might be audio. Yes, there's some little videos in there, but it just brings it to life. And it's done that in a really discreet way because everybody's got access to all of those features, those accessibility functions. So it's really, really lovely to as an educator to be mindful of all of these things that's just baked into it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of using what you've got already and then taking that concept to actually just bring it to life. And we've had a really nice comment. I just wanted to call out Blue Jays after training sessions, trying to find ways to make sure that what was taught is retained. I usually ask the attendees to teach a co-worker one topic that was covered. Love that. And there's lots and lots of ways that you can do that as well. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to teach it. Totally agree with you. Well, great comments. Thank you for those. Keep those comments coming.
And isn't that what you said earlier, Dee, on the strategic shift? Adaptable learning where we're adapting it to what people are used to now. Things move now. A poster on a wall won't move you, maybe, unless you know it's AR ready, like you can scan it with your phone or something like that. In a digital first type minded society, it has to be something that is more than what meets the eye. You know what I mean? And what I've learned, even from this example here, you can't assume that what we know or what we learned when we were in school or classroom is what the students of today know. Like you'll be surprised how many activities I'll do and say, okay, we're going to stand up and talk to each other for 30 seconds. Just hold a conversation. They're like, no. I'm like, you're in this classroom with someone all year. What do you know about them? They're like, I don't know. It's like not my problem. I'm like, but it's your community. Like you have to know these things, and seeing how this translates to into their professional development, I just think it's key. And so those 6 steps, very simple, but yet very engaging in how they bring the instructions to life. Those soft skills, I think, it's winning. It's incredible to have something like that, and that's how we got to think now.
And the other point about that is that this particular thing link that Dee's sharing, that might be something that's on the wall, yes, and a QR code, and you could bring it to life. But how many students work in a hybrid and flexible way that come into the classroom less and learn from home or on their phone on the way to college, that kind of whole flip learning model, because people have realized they don't need to be on the campus the entire time. So that means that this kind of thing can be accessible, yes, in the classroom, but it's also accessible whether it's part of a Google Classroom or a Teams or a Moodle or a Blackboard learning management system. So it can just be easily embedded as well.
Absolutely, easily shared, and great points for both these pieces. I do want to jump to the soft skills. I think we equally agree, very important. But again, one thing we want to focus on as well is being able to have that virtual lab environment. And this is really where immersion becomes incredibly powerful, because instead of limiting learning to those classroom constraints, we can then have something that's going to be a little bit more interactive, where your learners can practice these either before a lab session or even after they did the task, but they need a refresher. And this is where immersion becomes a force multiplier. I can walk through this procedure virtually. I have this whole process. I can imagine myself in front of this specific device, and then I'm walking through and interacting with each element, each piece of it. And again, this is really where we're going to build the psychology of one repetition. I see this, I can interact with it. It feels physical because it is in that immersive environment. And this is something really powerful happens when learners learn like this. Cognitive load drops. Coming from the other side of things, instructor repetition drops. You don't have to, go through the same process over and over again. They've hopefully reviewed it, and they can re-review it. And whether that is a QR code on a wall or on the device itself. And let me just walk through this before I even interact with it, or it's pre-work, or again, revisiting it. This will allow confidence to rise. And really, this is what's going to reduce that equipment strain, increased confidence, and first-time proficiency once they first interact and go through an actual lab environment.
And you talk about accessibility. I mean, taking an experience like this, producing this in different languages with the click of a button, not having to redo it all those different times. Yeah, right there. Let's a live demonstration of this. And now there we go. We're in a new language within seconds. This experience is expanded. It's across geographical lines, cultural lines. Like it's just it has so much life to it. Just by doing this the one good time, it can just instruct unlimitedly, limitless. You know, in the amount of times that it could. A student could have a touch point with something like this all over the world. I mean, this to me is just incredible, and it is the way, just the way to go. This is this right here.
Yeah, and again, it's there's so many layers of why this is important and how we can use this to get learners there quicker and make them workforce ready faster.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is also engaging, right? I'd rather learn like this than
read too.
Something like this. And this is why we have this on here as well, because this is how this is, done before. Here's your PDF, go do it. No,
come on.
We're in a visual, we are in a visual time.
Did you say reduce cognitive load? Like just seeing that PDF was putting such a load.
Right.
Like look at if but this was a revolution at the time.
It was, right? We have some.
We could add pictures, we can do this, but you have to adapt as the times are changing. And with all of these tools at our disposal, we have to use them, have to leverage the tools. So definitely more engaged here, wanting to click the one even from where I'm at. Click the number.
The last example here I want to share, and again, we went through kind of that virtual lab, but I always like to talk about decision-making in a virtual environment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've been on a webinar that I've been on before, I think I've talked about it every single one, is that failure-based learning, where learners can go through an environment in a virtual environment and they can fail and learn from those fails. But this is, again, when we're talking about a lot of vocational trades, they are high-risk trades.
Mm-hmm.
So allowing them to fail in a virtual environment, one, allows them to make sure that once they get to that physical environment, they're not making the same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going through and we are building that confidence. So once I'm here, I have this exercise, I'm going through this work order, I can make sure that if I do see some task like this again, I am making the correct choices.
Mm-hmm.
So, the options are presented to me. I think this is a great example of, what do I do first? Here are your options. And let's say I choose wrong, right? Again, this is a great way for me to just say, okay, we're going to the pylon tower. Oh, wait, that is not the correct way. You need to go prepare. Where's your harness? And I love the idea with scenario-based learning, which we do have a webinar next week where we're going to talk about this, but being able to take this even a step further of instead of having the supervisor stop you, what happens if you try to complete the task without a harness and all of a sudden you end up in the hospital? That is an important thing for people to know and understand the true consequence of that action and what it looks like if you were to make those choices in real life. And what I really like here is, again, we're going to tell you why this was a bad idea, and we're going to push you back. Let's try this again. Let's go back and understand the task at hand, and you can change your decision making. And I think, again, it's a great way to fail in that fail-safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ability to reflect on it as well. And I know that there's a new block in the ThingLink Scenario Builder. Some people might know about it, some people might not. But there's actually a conversational kind of chat where you can have those kind of reflective questions and discussion with a tutor that you've configured. So imagine them being able to go through this and truly reflect on the process and what could have gone wrong and how could it have even had a bigger impact than was imagined. So yeah, lots of exciting new features coming to that.
This is a preview. I was trying to get to it through the.
This is so good.
Yes. So you can reflect on your experience. Yes, I'm ready to reflect. And we have that conversational AI. So what's nice too, that right now this is written, where this is going to also be available where you can communicate verbally with the AI.
Yes.
So that'll be a great addition as well. And allow you to reflect on your choices.
And that alone builds your confidence, ultimately your competency in what you're learning, your communication, all the things that we know prepares us to be successful professionals from
100%.
classroom to career. You know what I mean? So yeah.
100%. And it is when we'll talk about metacognition, but it is important. It's important to reflect. Why?
Yes.
Why am I doing this? What does this mean?
Yes.
In order to build the confidence moving forward.
And this really emphasizes and showcases how you can demonstrate competencies rather than just kind of getting some qualifications. If you can demonstrate that you've been through this and show those reflections, that's just so powerful.
And it does, it kind of sparks for the learner. Think about it. We're all learning in some capacity. This kind of energizes you when you come to a part of the learning like this, because you're in a mode now there of discovery. Like it's not just completing the task, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's just so exciting to talk about that. It's not just completing the task anymore. You know what I mean? It's understanding the why and how, this works and how this fits into the way you think. So yeah, getting to this part of the scenario would be a fun time for me, the reflection part. So that's a really, really key part of learning that is coming forth now that we can actually do. Like we can do these things, these scenarios quickly, with the tools that we have. So yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's building skills quicker. Being able to reflect helps you advance your skill building, which again is something that we need to teach because this is going to translate to the workforce. Yes. That reflection is important to teach early on so that when you have it, you can learn from your mistakes. You can also think about the why and improve those skills faster. Yes. And understand also what do you need to improve. And I think that self-reflection is important because it's not always somebody who's going to tell you that. All right. And then we'll jump into a little bit about AI, I think on this next slide here. So AI in education, it's often framed as a disruption, right? In vocational education, though, it can be stabilization. It really allows, and when we're talking about, some of the pressures, it allows instructors to update procedures quickly. If we are talking about, if you think about that scene I showed where we're going through the installation process, that is something that if you needed to update that process, it's a couple clicks of the button and AI can even help you do it even quicker. You saw it allows you to translate really quickly, click of a button. These are things that are going to help instructors get their learners where they need to faster. It becomes, again, a force multiplier, not a replacement. We'll never replace that hands-on learning. We'll never replace instructors, but AI can actually really help you remove friction and reclaim time for really what matters, coaching actual performance. El-Michelle, I know, we talk about AI. There's a lot of anxiety around AI. How are educators actually using it in ways that feel more supportive?
I mean, some of the things you said, helping you if you need to make adjustments, lesson planning, seeing patterns across things. Like, okay, where do we see even maybe every student on step 4, AI might analyze and say they're all getting stuck here. So then, as an instructor, there may be something that I need to change here. And I echo what you said, the about it not being a replacement. I think the reservation many people have is that, is this replacing something? Artificial intelligence, is it replacing human intelligence, human beings even? And I would say we look at it more so as a partner instead of a replacement. It's partnering with you to help you accelerate the process of creating things that are needed to help the students. I mean, we're all in it to help them. And so, if anything, if we have these tools, like for instance, building a scenario on your own can be done. Oh yes, it can. It's just going to take quite a while to get the different steps and how you may want it to go. With AI and your idea, because remember, this is just a partner, you're able to fast track. I like how you say force multiplier. You're able to fast track that process so you can get it to students quicker who need it. And then we can analyze that and see what else we can do to improve that. So I think in the end, what we're seeing AI do is help us make maybe a more solid workforce, a workforce that is more confident, not in the tech, but in their ability to communicate what it is that they've obtained, what they've learned, what they're even trying to achieve with the tech assistance. So I think it comes in, and even in me using it, I think it comes in and helps further, your ideas, further what you already have. It doesn't replace what I have. I don't let it think for me, but I will welcome it to partner with me in the process of making some things.
100%. And that is, I always, every time I talk about AI, I always say, you're the expert. AI is the expert. I always encourage, review everything, but it will make your job easier.
Yes.
You have it, it will be quicker, but it's always going to be that tool to help you. You are always the expert.
Yes.
Which brings us, we talked about one of the critical shifts. This is going to be one of them. Workforce readiness. We don't need just completion. We can jump to the next slide here. So completion doesn't equal competency. Employers want proof. They want to see evidence of competency. They want graduates who can demonstrate their skill. And this goes beyond completion. Hey, I have this, certificate of completion that doesn't show true competency, and understanding where learners succeed is really important. And it's not just done through reporting. There are other ways. And I want to hand the mic to you, El Michelle. I know you've guided students in documenting a lot of their own learning. So I'll let you talk a little bit about what changes when students become creators instead of just consumers of learning.
Right. And so even as we segue from our AI discussion, why do employers want to know that you're competent? Because you have all these tools now. How do they know it wasn't just a tool that earned that certificate, that badge that you have on your LinkedIn or whatever? They don't know that until you as an individual can tell them, demonstrate what you see. And that's why we have this image here where it says building future leaders. That slide right there, that was taken from, I think it's a slide right before this one. It was taken from a project that we do called the Life Film, where we really get into metacognition, reflection, like how you see your life, what you may see on the surface, and then what you see down the line, to get you to think deeper about what you're thinking, what you're doing, how you make meaning of things, how you fit into the equation. And I think that translates, of course, professionally to the workforce, because if you're just doing a job to complete the task, it's a means to an end, ends to a means, whatever you want to say. Like, I'm doing it, I get my check, and then I'm gone. That isn't really sustainable, long-term quality of life type of thinking. You know what I mean? It's just completing a task versus the competency showing that you understand how you fit into this equation, why you're doing what you're doing. And that leads you down more of an expert leadership type path, which, if we're building future leaders, we want to know what you see, not just from the surface, but what you see after reflection. So, yeah, so we do this project that just with smart glasses, and they look at their lives and things like that, and just get into a mindset of looking at things on a deeper level and not just following status quo or being on autopilot, so to speak. So there's a summer program we worked with for 3 years, Tallahassee Future Leaders Academy. That's what TFLA stands for. So you'll have about 100 students who are placed on jobs all throughout the city of Tallahassee. And before they complete their 6 weeks of work, near the end of that time, they are required to put together a presentation, of which we have used ThingLink as a tool to help us with that. And the presentations are a way for the students to reflect on the work they've done. Like, we can show this one example from Demarian Owens. And this was in 2024. There was a whole class last year that did the same thing. But if we click on his example, first of all, I want to say this. It follows the course of life, doesn't it? The first thing we saw is just a picture of Demarian. He's in a nice yellow shirt, if you like yellow, and that's the layer that we see of Demarian. But when we come a little closer and begin to look at another layer, we're able to see that, hey, he was a microcomputer technician. And then he puts here what he's in charge of: erasing old computers, destroying the hard drives so that they can't be recovered. And then who he's also helping. He's placed at a job site. This wasn't a quiz or anything. This was just saying, Demarian, why don't you tell us what was your summer experience like? He talks about the 3 things he learned and about the hard drives, why they're called the hard drives, and the system around the station, that everyone treats each other like family. I mean, you talk about soft skills, you're talking about awareness. Here it is, showing that it was more than just a job placement. And then he talks about the wires, and look how he has the pictures, all embedded throughout, and the hard drives. And he says, hey, this is what we did with this. So this is jogging his memory, taking back, and even the community aspect of things, saying, look at my coworker, we're having a fun time, but we also get our work done. So at the end of the day, the employer who gives Demarian an opportunity is seeing that it was more than just a job placement for summer income from him. He recognized that the culture of this organization is we treat each other like family. He recognized the importance of the work that's being done. He talked about what he learned, and he even shared a quote there, and not just shared a quote, but applied it to his life, saying that there cannot be success without failure. And instead of just having the quote, he goes on to say, hey, I'm trying to be a drummer, and I haven't gotten everything quite right with that. So he shows a little vulnerability with that and shows how the quote applies to him. What does this do? This gives learners agency. What does this say to an employer? This is someone who's engaged. This is someone who's teachable. This is someone who doesn't take this opportunity for granted with such high supply in many of these type jobs. This is a person who is actually maximizing the opportunity. And I think that takes it from him just completing 6 weeks of work over the summer to being competent as a young professional in where he was placed on that job. I think this is an excellent example of what he could have typed all this up too, and I probably would have never got to it unless, I could have had a reader like read me everything. But I am able, through the visual and immersive nature of what he's put together to grasp all that in just this short period of time. And then he has a record of it. So if he ever wants to show a future employer the way he thinks about things, there's so many things he didn't say here that as an employer you can take away. And I think this is just an excellent example of what happens when you put together something like this, something immersive, to show what you've learned and how you've reflected and how it's made impact. So we had 100 or so students over 3 years, 100 each year, doing experiences like this. One other example is Sanaya Brown. What I liked about hers, when you go into hers, it's just completely, she loves pink, if you can't tell. And that's one of the things she said. She was so excited to be able to show her favorite color, and a lot of the aesthetics show a lot about her, and just her photos from her experience, and even showing different activities that she was able to do. And they were challenged to post things that are meaningful. Might I also add, these couldn't be taken in a day. So it caused you to reflect in real time. Like, it had to be done in increments over time. So it kept you engaged in your learning all throughout the summer. Challenged you to kind of take pause and say, let me take a picture of this. Let me get this for further reflection later on. Then you could also see in hers, she did about a 1:37-second video where she just spoke about what she learned and what she got from the actual experience. I think it's right there at the bottom. And I thought that was just really good, because a lot of times our learners are coming from a generation of posting, but not processing. So this gives them, it adds some weight to content creation, because it's not just for a public audience at this point. It is for them to process what has been happening in their lives. So it's just always wonderful to see this. Louise, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what a fantastic example of responsible use of technology as well, and I think you said there, people are creating content a lot, but this is just so purposeful. And I love the way that everything is so personalized as well. I mean, her background and the pinkness of it, it's hers. She's taken ownership to it, because you've given the students the agency to design things that's contextually relevant for them, it's culturally relevant for them as well. And then having the ability to share that with the people that were offering the work experience placements, the connections that they build, and building connections is so important, especially for young people whose parents don't make the connections for them. There's so many ways in which this is just so impactful for everyone, for the employers, the work experience placements, the educators. Someone's just put in the chat, what great inspiration. And absolutely, I couldn't agree with them more, because I feel very privileged that you come and share this with us. And I just want everyone to see what you're doing, because it is inspirational. And thank you to you, and thank you to all the students that have been so happy for us to be able to share what they're doing as well, because it really, really, truly is.
And I thank you. And I what were you going to say, Dee? I was just,
I wanted to back off of that. I think 100%. Like what we're really trying to build in these programs aren't just it's not just skill acquisition, right? We're building human performance. And I think this really ties into like the psychology of it all. And you and I have talked about this a lot, and I think you've seen the slides already, but it's really showing like that reflection. It's showing with that reflection and the metacognition, it's showing competency. And I know we're running close to the end of the webinar here, but I think that's what's really beautiful about this is these student examples really show that they have confidence. That's a big piece. And it shows that they have now the confidence to perform that task. Even recording yourself. I mean, I'm in, I'm on one aspect, I'm always on screen, but I have had coworkers where that is a skill that they will literally, I do not want to be on screen. That just shows confidence right there.
Yes.
I think that it was the previous example, but communication, right? You need to communicate with supervisors, customers, teammates, whoever that is. And also communication also ties back to being able to explain your work.
Yes.
And again, another really important piece here, metacognition we've jumped into as well. And I think we've talked about it, but I think the final piece here, it really proves employability. This is someone who can translate into a workforce. It's the combination of everything above. And when we talk about immersive learning, it's not really just about engaging technology. It's about creating environments where students can build psychological skills that drive real world performance.
That's right. And in community, I'll say that one last thing. You saw the students on that screen, so they can then go in, scan a poster and see each other's experiences. But then they also present this in their community. And so the confidence is built there again and in front of the employers who've given them this opportunity. So I think, like you said, under this, and like Blue Jays Outdoor says, sometimes the best way to learn is to teach it. So they're able to do that. And that goes under your psychology of performance here, just well. So I'm thankful for the partners who work with us every year to put that together.
Absolutely. And I think to wrap here, last two things I just want to point out, and I want to say first, thank you everyone for joining. Other piece is all of these things that you've seen today, they might look complex. If you have the right tools, they're super easy to build. They're also already VR ready, right? It's not, you build it once, you can deliver it on any device. You don't need any coding skills. Anyone can jump in and build some of the experiences that you've seen today. And we saw that, a great example through the student creation. Go next here, Luis. If you want to learn more on how to create and how easy it is, feel free. We're going to send these assets afterwards. Feel free to take a peek here. Sign up for a free trial of ThingLink. Schedule a call with me. I'm happy to chat and walk you through this as well. But also, if you want to learn more about vocational education, we do have a we'll go to the next slide, Luis, here. We have a white paper that we've released and that it is available for download, where you can access some case studies of some of our customers where they talk about some real world examples, and you'll see some actual immersive learning applications that might be replicable in your role and what you are all doing today. So again, thank you so much. Last slide here is, feel free to schedule some time with me if you want to learn more. And we have another webinar next week, so happy to chat more. Luis, I'll let you wrap here. I know we're
Thank you. Yeah, we'll send you an email about half an hour or so after the webinar finishes, and it'll have our contact details. And El-Michelle, as you heard me say, has been on a journey with me personally since I've been at ThingLink in my 6 years, but you're also one of our ThingLink certified trainers, and we have a program for people if they want to become a certified creator, an XR expert, or a trainer. And on the email that you get, I'll put some information about that, because we want to make sure that we're helping other people to learn more about ThingLink, and if that's useful in their profession, then they can use that as well to show their own competencies. So we would love you to join our programs. So all that's left to say, I think, is, El-Michelle, you are a force of nature, a force of inspiration to us all, and we're so grateful that you're part of our community, and to extend a thank you to your students as well, and the people that you've worked with. Hugely proud of what they're achieving, and it is just a real shining example of how colleges, vocational education providers can take that model of putting together assets that are engaging as part of their own courses, overcoming those pressures that Dee's mentioned, but students can also use it as well to demonstrate their skills. And I think you've done that, both of you, so beautifully in this webinar. So thank you, both of you, Dee, for being a wonderful colleague and suggesting this webinar. And to you who are watching us and have joined us, whether you're joining us live now or whether you're watching on demand, we wouldn't be able to put these webinars on if we didn't think it was of value to you. And we would welcome you all to be part of our community as well. So thank you very much. And if there's anything else we can do, just hit reply on the email and Dee will receive it. So have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your evening.
Everybody.
And any last parting words, and Michelle, anything that you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you. I'm so super thankful for all the partners, the instructors, the director, Dr. Tara Hulls of the TFLA program, who year after year saw the vision in the beginning and said, hey, we got to do this. Just be open to it. Be open to being adaptable in the learning space. Know that immersive learning really does engage students. It really does help with their competency. It really is inspiring, like what many of you said here. And I'm so thankful to have seen ThinkLink grow from, I think 2017 is when I first came in contact with ThinkLink and have been here ever since. So I'm just thankful to be here and looking forward to the many more webinars to come. Thank you, Dee, for inviting me to be a part of this one today, and Luis as always. So I'm just excited. And everybody out there, come on, let's make these immersive learning experiences. The students, the learners are waiting on us. So let's get, and if you can't do it, there's someone around you who'll be glad to do it. Just be open to it, you know? So yeah. That's what I think.
What a wonderful way to wrap up this webinar. So take care, everybody. And it's a big thank you from all of the ThinkLink team. And we hope to see you again on one of our webinars in the future. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.